100 foods to eat before you die. I've been traveling and eating all around the world, and here are the 100 foods you need to eat before you die. And these are in no particular order, so add them to your food bucket list. Number 52, lobsters in Maine. Hey guys, good morning. It's Mike Chang here in Booth Harbor, Maine. And today I'm about to jump on a boat to Cabbage Island where a lobster feast awaits me. Welcome to Cabbage Island. That looks like where they're having the clam bake right there. So when you arrive on the island, you see the clam bake and the tables are facing the water. Beautiful.
This is actually 25 to 30-gallon saltwater pan. At the very bottom, there's potatoes wrapped in tinfoil, and the corn is in a ring around the sides. It's covered with a thick layer of seaweed, which helps to insulate and also flavor the food. The iodine in it will drip down through, give it sort of a sweet and salty flavor. And those two trays have all the lobsters and the clams. Clams are in 1-pound tinfoil packets and stacked up around the sides, sort of like a brick wall kind of fashion. So the lobsters and the clams will take about 45 to 50 minutes. All the vegetables will take about an hour and 45 minutes total. Potatoes will take about 45 minutes longer.
So this place is pretty incredible. There's 3 giant pots of food cooking when we arrived in. The first pot has corn, onions, potatoes, clams, and then the other 2, all lobster, and they cook it with seaweed. So the iodine dripping from the seaweed naturally flavors the lobster and the shellfish and the vegetables. So everything's steamed, nothing's boiled. Pretty amazing to see. First thing though, fish chowder. Fish chowder, giant chunks of potatoes, flaky white fish. Looks like cod. To be honest, I need some salt. It's definitely more of a watery, soupy chowder. Yeah, add some salt, much better. Mushy potatoes, fish is flaky and tender, not too bad. Got my tray of lobster. It smells so good. So on this tray, you get 2 lobster. Probably looks like a pound and a half lobster. 1 whole corn, potatoes, eggs, whole onion, and steamed clams. They did give you a little cup of water and some butter. This is not to drink, this is just to rinse the clam out if you wanted to. And again, everything is steamed, wrapped in seaweed. Wow, that's a sweet onion. And they put an egg in there so they actually know when the lobsters are done. So when the eggs are done, the lobsters are done. Inside the foil, you get a dozen steamer clams. Dunk these in a little bit of butter. So sweet and buttery. I would recommend rinsing these out a little bit because they are mud clams, so they do get a little sandy. Much better. These are really, really, really buttery clams. You also get a potato. Slice that open, pour some butter all over that. Sweet pop and super juicy. Everything so far, you're tasting a lot of the natural flavors of the ingredients, and it tastes so good. Get to the lobster and break off that scrumptious lobster tail. That is as fresh as you will ever get. So how they work is that you place your order while you're waiting in line, and as soon as the order is placed, your lobster is basically picked out fresh and brought to the island. And the lobsters are cooked for about 45 minutes. The vegetables cook for about 1 hour and 15. Again, wrapped in the seaweed, so it's steamed perfectly. And that slight brininess from the seaweed also flavors the lobster, the vegetables a little bit. So every time you're biting into a sweet vegetable with a sweet lobster, you're getting a tiny, tiny hint of fragrance and umami. And I don't think you're gonna find juicier steamed vegetables or lobster anywhere. I mean, everything, the onions, the corn, every time you take a bite, it's just a burst of juice. And don't forget to eat the insides of the lobster. That stuff right here, that is pure steamed lobster flavor. You can dunk it in a little butter. Oh, that's so good. I said this before, as much as I love the lobster meat, the lobster tail, the claw, everything, that's the best tasting part of lobster. It's just basically pure creamy flavor. And what you can do, you can put it on your potatoes. Now your potato is much better. You can put it on the lobster meat itself, then dunk that in some butter. Pure umami mixed with that natural sweet lobster meat. This is not just a lobster meal. This is a pure lobster experience. And look at the size of this steamer. Sitting here eating lobsters, looking out over the ocean. This is a bucket list kind of meal. And at the end of the meal, a ginormous piece of blueberry cake. This is a delicious piece of blueberry cake. Toasty caramelized crust and really pillowy in the middle and chock full of blueberries. This has been one heck of a lobster meal. That was definitely the best lobster bake I've ever been to. Well, it's the only lobster bake I've ever been to, but I doubt anything's gonna top that. The sweetest, juiciest lobster and vegetables. You can taste that subtle smoke in each bite, and also just being here and eating that makes it taste even better. And a big shout out to my buddy Mark who turned me onto this place. Again, like I said, bucket list food experience.
This next place is another location I would highly recommend for lobsters in Maine. It's some of the best lobster rolls you will ever find from a food truck.
We started because we wanted to incorporate flavors that we really liked outside of just butter and mayo, and that's where we came up with these 6 different styles. We do a Maine style, which is mayo and fresh chives. We do Connecticut style, which is just butter and lobster meat. Our signature roll would be the picnic style roll, where we put down a layer of kind of like a creamy sweet coleslaw, fresh lobster meat, hot butter, and some celery salt. And then we also do a mayo that is wasabi, chipotle, or curry mayo. And you can get it however you like it. We have an off-menu one called the Maniac, where it's a mix of the picnic and the Maine style. We only use fresh Maine lobster. We use 4.5 ounces in our standard roll, which is actually somewhat bigger than traditionally. And we have a 6-ounce roll as well that we do.
My first stop is at an iconic food truck. This is by far one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in the US. To drive through this park, you see the ocean, you see this historic lighthouse that was commissioned by George Washington, and then on top of the hill, you see this place. A little food truck with big flavors that's supposed to make one of the best lobster rolls in the country. Sarah and her husband Carl founded this place in 2011, and I love the reason for why. Because they were sick of eating lobster rolls with just butter on it. So they created a place where they could mix it up a lot. So I got the wasabi in the picnic. I also got some homemade clam chowder, and I didn't know this about Maine, but homemade whoopie pie. One other thing I forgot, I did not know about this till I came here. Moxie. This is the first soda ever made in the US. Never even heard of this before. Distinctively different. Excited to try. Let's try the picnic. This thing is loaded with sweet, fresh Maine lobster. And if you get the bigger one, it's over 6 ounces of lobster on a freshly baked butter brioche bun. On the bottom of this is coleslaw, at the top celery salt, and look at this monster of a lobster roll. This is way, way too good. First of all, that was a mouthful of lobster that went into that first bite. The lobster is just the ultimate in sweetness and succulence. Then you get that refreshing crunch from the slaw. Then as you're chewing, that delicious sweet lobster meat is taking over your taste buds. You taste that burst of butter, not just from the roll, but also from what they drizzle on top when they serve it to you. It's got all the flavors of a classic lobster roll, that delicious butteriness from the roll, that crazy sweet, scrumptious lobster meat, and even that alone might make this one of the best lobster rolls in the country.
And that just turns this into a bite of pure happiness. Chase it with some moxie. Oh, this is really interesting. It does kind of taste like a mix of root beer and Dr. Pepper. I like it. Just like the lobster roll, best of both worlds. This one I'm really, really excited about. This is the wasabi lobster roll. So this lobster roll is covered in wasabi mayo. Again, I asked for a butter drizzle, so this thing is doused in butter as well. Oh my God, this is so good. You gotta come and try the wasabi lobster roll. I gotta mention again how good this roll is. Beautifully toasty and wonderfully buttery. The perfect vehicle to house this delicious, exuberant, creamy, buttery wasabi-y chunks of lobster. I love places that are innovative, that plays with flavors, that likes to change up the status quo. In this place, you'll never get bored with these lobster rolls. If you like classic lobster rolls with just some butter, they have that. If you want to try the different flavors, which I highly recommend, they have that too. And they're just as buttery, they're just more flavorful. Who doesn't love that? Also got some clam chowder. Classic New England clam chowder. So, so creamy with giant chunks of clams inside. I'm getting spoonfuls where it's just pure clam. Oh, that's awesome. And for dessert, homemade whoopie pie. This is really chocolatey with such a light, airy cream in the middle. After something sweet, scrumptious, and savory, this is exactly what your taste buds called for. This is actually my first time eating a lobster roll in Maine, and this has really set the bar to pretty much unreachable levels. Wasabi lobster roll. Never had anything like it. Now every time I want to eat a lobster roll, that's what I want.